Make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Where did I go? I don't know what happened. Hello, everyone. It's a big, big day around here because it's my friend Wendy's birthday. Happy birthday, Wendy. I have known Wendy since 2016 when she was the first person I ever met when I moved to Maryland. And she was a stylist, a personal stylist. And I, at the time, owned a fashion truck. Can you believe that? It's like a food truck, only I had racks of clothes inside, and you'd walk in. I had a dressing room, racks of clothes, a little counter to check out, accessories. And we became very, very good friends. When I first started the Richard Wilmore show back in 2016, 17, in my basement. And believe it or not, I used to look on Craigslist, and I would go through Craigslist and look up. That's back when people would like advertise their bands, kind of like Facebook now. You can like look up events, but Craigslist used to have events, and I would find musicians and authors and people that were going to be in the area, and I would have them come over and hang out in my basement. And Wendy would come over and she would help with the cameras. I had like 3 cameras, and she would run around and do all the cameras. And I love her to this day. And I hope she has an amazing day. I know she's out with her friend Suze. I don't think she watches this show, but I think we're going to hopefully Zoom later today and chat. So happy birthday, Wendy. I love you. Okay, other things I love are that I get to help other people with their podcasts and their live streams. And Before You Go is a podcast through Abode Contemplative Care for the Dying, which is a nonprofit in San Antonio, Texas. And they do a wonderful podcast about dying with dignity and all the things that go along with death and dying and living. And they have a new podcast out today, wherever you get your podcasts. And take a look at this clip.
Jen, what is the one thing that you wish people knew about hospice?
That it's just love. It's just love, especially at those end time, those last couple of months, last weeks, days even. It's just love. Yeah, and I'm fortunate to witness working with people that, I have some really good nurses. I've worked with some really good nurses, and just watching them just love on the patients and make sure they're comfortable, and it's love. It's love and compassion. It's that helper, like Mr.
It's that helper.
It's that helper.
Yeah.
It's that helper. It's just being present.
Before You Go is available wherever you get your podcasts. It's on YouTube. If you want to learn more about Abode, go to abodehome.org. Great, great nonprofit. Wonderful people there in San Antonio doing really, really good work. So check them out. Would you? Thanks. What else do I have to tell you? This wildfires here in South Carolina still going. I think I saw this morning that no homes have been damaged yet, which is amazing. But if you'd like to help everybody out there, here, where did it go? Oh, there we go. There's the redcross.org/donate to help those affected by those wildfires here in South Carolina. It's in the Myrtle Beach area, which is like 4 hours from where I am. So I am safe, just for the people that have been asking if we're safe. I am. All right, I think that's it. And we have an amazing show today. So I think we should get going, don't you? I do. Are you ready to learn secrets to building a stronger, happier relationship in your life? My first guest has written the book on it. Dr. Mark Hicks, author of the book Learning Love, Building a Life That Matters, and Healthy Relationships That Last, is here to teach us the 5 key components of love that anyone can learn and practice. Dr. Hicks will offer practical insights and hope for anyone seeking deeper connection in their lives. His book comes out later this year, I think in June. So please welcome Dr. Mark Hicks. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thanks for being here. I'm excited to talk to you. First of all, congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
Tell everybody what it's about.
It is about building healthy, happy, thriving relationships. It's a very practical guide. I teach the 5 components of love that anyone can learn and practice to build those healthy relationships. And that's true even if you come from a dysfunctional family, if you've been through a divorce, if you've been through some sort of relationship trauma, or if relationships are just hard for you. There are ways to build them because love is a learned skill set. And that's what I want people to understand from the book is you don't have to just depend on the mystery or serendipity or luck. Relationships, healthy ones, are built on the 5 components of love, and I want to teach you what those are.
Why do you think so many relationships are lacking what they are?
I think there is an idea that love is about luck and it's about emotion and it's about that emotional connection. Emotional connection is actually one of the components of love. It's one of the 5. But that means there's 4 others that people sometimes miss. For instance, the first component of love is grief. And that surprises people because we often think about love being just a conversation of, bubblegum and butterflies, everything's sweet and beautiful. And that is part of it. That is that second component of love. But as much as we hate to think about it, no one gets through life without scars. And we need a comeback story. We need a way back. And so often our instincts are to put up barriers and to push people out of our lives, keep people at arm's length, put up those emotional walls. And that doesn't work for building relationships. We need a way back. And that way back is grief. Grief, even though it's not fun, is a healer. And it allows us to stay connected or to reconnect after the pain of life, after the hurts of life. We can heal from those in order to stay connected and build those healthy relationships. That leads us into the ability to have those emotional connections that we want so much.
Wow. How did you get into this work?
Well, I have basically 3 paths that led me into this place. One is I am a counselor. I have a master's degree in mental health counseling, and every area of our life really comes down to relationships, whether it's a relationship with ourselves, a relationship with other people, whether at home or at work, a relationship with our community, a relationship with God, whatever you want to think about relationships, counseling is always a part of. We always deal with that in counseling. The other path my career has taken is a spiritual path. I have a background in theology. And of course, in theology, we think about relationships with ourselves, with one another, and with God. And the third path was that I was raised in a very healthy family and was very happy childhood. And from that, made some assumptions that love was easy. It just happens, just comes along. And then very early in my life, I ended up in a toxic first marriage. It was an utter disaster, extraordinarily painful, ended in divorce. I still have the emotional scars to prove that one. And that led me into questioning, is love possible? Is it really for everyone? Is it just luck? How do you come from a healthy family and end up in such a disaster like I did? And so it led to all these questions about what love is and how to live that out. And so from my personal experience, from my counseling experience, from my theological experience, it all kind of came together over the years to write this book. And so some people ask me, how long did it take you to write it? Well, it took me about either 3 months or 15 years, whichever way you look at it.
Depending, yeah.
I was working on it through my personal life, through my professional life, and then it all sort of came together in my mind, and I was able to write it pretty quickly then. But it took a long time to learn these lessons.
Who would you say the book is for?
It is really for everyone because we have relationships in every area of our life. It's for married couples or people in romantic relationships. It's for families that want to deal with perhaps dysfunction or stress or struggle in their family relationships. It's for building friendships. It's for having a good relationship with your coworkers. Now, obviously, the relationship you have with your spouse is going to be very different than that you have with your coworkers. But the 5 components that we use to build those healthy relationships is the same, regardless of what the relationship is. It just manifests differently. But whether you want to love your spouse love your family, or love what you do for a living and really enjoy the people you work with every day and enjoy those relationships. Building those healthy relationships is the same across the board. So whether you're wanting healthy relationships at home or at work or in your community, in your personal life, with your friends, the book is for you.
So it sounds like it's not necessarily like once things get bad, turn to this book. Like maybe turn to this book so things don't turn bad, right?
That's absolutely true. Now, if things are bad, I would still encourage you to read it because there is a way back. But yes, I hope that people will look at this before it gets bad, because sometimes you're living life pretty well. Maybe you're living one or two or three of these components pretty well, just instinctively, because you learned it growing up in a healthy family, or somehow it just felt right to you. But you may be missing one or two. And there may be that point in life where life gets a little stressful, life's a little harder, and you think, what happened? Why is this not working anymore? We used to have such a good relationship, and now things just seem a little off. You may just be missing one component. And so, yes, it's great to have this at any point in your relationship. I had a lady who read my book. She was in her 80s. Her husband had passed away, and she had a great relationship with him, a great relationship with her family, but she knew me personally, was excited to read my book. And she read it, and she said, it's a great book. I really enjoyed reading it. I wish I had known this 50 years ago.
Mm.
And this was someone who had a happy marriage and a happy family. But she said, we could have done even better and overcome some of those difficult times if I'd have known these lessons 50 years ago.
Wow. What does that feel like when you hear stuff like that?
Oh, it feels like just it's very powerful, and it's very humbling to think that I could help people have that kind of relationship. It's what I wish I had had when I was younger. I didn't know all everything I know now, but I'm enjoying it now. I've been married now for 15 years and have a wonderful second chance at marriage. I often say that I've had a bad marriage and a good marriage, and good is better. And so we need to work at good ones. We need to work at good relationships. And these are the components that can teach that. And so I think that is so important. And it's not just my opinion. There was a study out of Harvard that studied over 80 years. Over the course of 80 years, this study went on, tracking what made people happy, asking that question, what makes people happy? And after more than 80 years of study, the answer was relationships.
Wow.
People who have happy, healthy, thriving relationships have a happy life, much more than any other thing. Now, there's other things, obviously, that we enjoy in life, but if we really want a happy life, according to this study out of Harvard, the way to get there is relationships. And so I hope to have help people do that.
What did you want to be when you were a kid, when you grew up?
A lot of things, really. The thing is about my life, I have, from the time I was very young, I always wanted to help people. That was just something that I was drawn to. And so I would look at things like, police officer, or I thought about things like a doctor or a counselor, even early on. So all these things in that from my early life, I just wanted to help people along the way. I thought that was a good way to live life. And so that's what I've done through counseling, through theology. I've made it sort of my mission in life to try to help people. And I've come to the conclusion that the best way I can do that is to help them be happy in all their relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it like? I mean, because you obviously work with people in real life. What is it like to write a book with the goal of helping people? How does that feel?
It feels like an awesome responsibility, and it is, but it feels like a privilege more than anything else. It really feels like a privilege to come to a place where I feel like I do have something important to share. I've been in helping professions all my life. I've done what I can to help people along the way, but I've come to a place through my personal experience, through my education and counseling experience and theological experience, that I've come to the place that I really do believe I have something to say that can truly help people. And so it's really a privilege at this point in my life to be able to have this book and to share it with people. It comes out in June of 25 and wherever books are sold. And I just can't wait for it to be available. So much so that if any of the listeners are hearing this and think I'm really interested to know what these 5 components are, I don't want to wait till June of 25 to get the book. I do have a free ebook that's available on my website at markahicks.com, and you can download that free of charge and get the 5 components of love. It's an overview of those 5, and then in June of 25, the book will be coming out for a lot more detail.
That's so exciting. Are you not obvious? Is the book finished or is it not finished yet because it's coming out in June? Are you still working on it?
It's finished. Has gone to print. We just finished the production through Morgan James Publishing. They just finished the new book cover, the layout. I just received my advance copies in the mail this week. You could go to my website and pre-orders will be available.
Do you think you're going to write another one?
I do. I'm working on a second one now. Already talking to Morgan James Publishing about that one. Hope to finish the first draft of that one in the spring of 25. So if all goes well, that one will be available probably early 26, I would imagine, if all unfolds as I hope.
Well, good. You can make your yearly trip to this show and talk about what you're up to.
I would love to do that. That would be a pleasure.
Good. What do you love most about your life right now?
I love writing. I love the idea of connecting with people and writing on something that is so important. The reason I reference that Harvard study, I talk about it every chance I get because I realize that this is what can make people happy. And I get to be a part of that. I get to be a part of really changing lives and be a part of lives that can truly make people happy in those healthy relationships. And so it's just a lot of fun. It's really a joy.
That's so fun. What a great answer. How can people connect with you, learn more about you, support you?
The best way is through my website. It's markahicks.com. Make sure you get my middle initial in there, markahicks.com. Everything is on my website. I'll have details about the pre-orders and where the book is, and when the book comes out, how to order the book. I have my podcast that is links on there, my YouTube channel. I also have the free ebook that I mentioned, the 5 components of love, and there's a contact form there. I'm available for speaking engagements, workshops, both in person and virtually. I do coaching, or if any listeners would like to just email me and let me know they heard me on the show, I would love to hear from you.
Tell everybody about your podcast and where they can find it when it comes out.
Yeah, the podcast is on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. You can find links to that on my website. It's also available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever you listen to podcasts. It's always available there. And it's called the Learning Love Podcast. It's based on the principles that I teach in the book. I share wit and wisdom and just really practical guidance. I believe that we need to be practical when it comes to love and relationships. So I try to show practical guidance on everyday things each week on my podcast. So yeah, go to my website and there's a link to my YouTube channel where the podcast can be found.
Are you having fun in the podcast world?
It is fun. Yeah. Right now it's a monologue podcast. I'm hoping to begin having guests very soon. So I'm new at the podcast. I'm about 6 episodes in at this point.
Nice.
So I'm new at it. I'm taking notes from guys like you. I'm watching very closely what you do to build a great podcast, but I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. And so it's another way for me to share these thoughts about love and life and relationships and to be able to impact people in their lives in this important way. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to do.
Well, and if you can change your life on your drive to work by listening to people like Dr. Hicks, why wouldn't you do that? So I think it's so smart to start a podcast because people can learn as they're doing other stuff. Super, super smart. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations on the book. Let us know the date it comes out and we'll celebrate it here on that show as well and come back anytime you want.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We're going to take a break. Are you tired of the same old drinks? Let your taste buds travel. Honkaku Spirits delivers authentic Japanese spirits right to your door. From family distilleries in southern Japan, they bring you exquisite small batch shochu, awamori, koji whiskey, and gin. It's more than a drink, it's a journey to Japan in every sip. Discover your new favorite spirit at honkaku.com and enjoy free U.S. shipping on any order. Thanks for sponsoring the show, Honkaku Spirits. All right, we're back, everyone. Thanks for sticking around. My next guest is an author who has written a powerful and deeply personal book about faith, freedom, and connection. Desiree Taylor is the author of Created to Relate, Living Beyond Religion, a book that chronicles her journey of breaking through religious barriers to find a more authentic relationship with Jesus. Desiree is here to share her story of transformation and offer insights into living a life of genuine connection and faith. And so please welcome Desiree Taylor. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Uh-oh.
I'm great. I'm happy to be
Okay,
here.
good. You know, when we book these shows, it's never like, let's see if we can get two people that are similar or going to talk about the same things. And sometimes it just happens. And it's so interesting how there's sort of an overlap between you and Dr. Hicks. And I love that.
I was thinking that too as I was listening to him. I was almost glad that he went before me, and I see the connection between the two. So that's so exciting.
Yeah, I noticed that when you were watching back there, and I asked him about what it felt like to write a book to help people. I saw you nodding back there about when he responded about it. And I'd love to talk, obviously, about your book. I want to put it up there. It's called Created to Relate. What is it like to write a book that not only is just sharing your story, but also is to help people?
It's so funny because I was thinking about what he said too, because you don't think that you have much to offer, and
Mm,
then this book took me like 8 to 10 years to write. And it was a
mhm.
very personal writing experience. And um to see that it makes everything that you go through worth it. I think when I have conversations with people and you see how it helps people, it really makes everything that you put into it worth it.
I bet. And especially after you've spent so much time and energy and focus on writing something like that. Is it once it's out, are you like, oh my gosh, it's about time? Are you over it? Or is it just like the next step that's even more exciting to then go talk about it?
I think it's the next step. I think there's a relief in that part is over. I love the writing, love the writing. Editing's a little bit of a is a lot of work.
An acquired taste,
And
right?
yes, and it's not a strength for me at all. So
Mm.
um I was happy to have that part over, even though I will be writing more and put myself through it again. But I was so excited about finally being able to talk to people about it because, they're always telling you, you can't give too much before it comes out. So having to keep all this in for so long and just having the freedom to talk about it. I love the podcast. It's just been so fun.
Oh, good. We'll tell everybody about the book. It's called Created to Relate, Living Beyond Religion.
Yes. And Created to Relate, Living Beyond Religion is, when I first started writing this book, it wasn't supposed to be about just my story. It turned into that. And or um it was so I thought that there would be more of other people's stories involved in this. And as I started writing it, God just kind of narrowed it down to more of my experiences in my journey and transition from that legalistic and religious place to that authentic relationship with Jesus and how it's changed my life. It's changed everything, my mindsets, my perspectives on things, my relationships with other people and myself too. And obviously with God. So it gives takeaways for other people who are in the same place to be able to feel like there's some way out of this, that you don't have to be stuck in it, and so I'm excited about that.
Who would you say that Created to Relate is for? Like, who should be reading the book?
Well, I think there's multiple audiences. Obviously, there's people who've grown up in the church who have had different experiences, and I feel like they've walked away from God because of what people have done. And it's not a pretty picture. It's not. We're human beings, and there are things that have gone wrong in the church, and it hasn't been done right. but God is still God, and he's not the one who did those things, but a lot of people walk away from that, and that makes me sad. Um, so I feel like that's part of the audience. It's also for people who just don't know what that is, or they have preconceived ideas of what a Christian is. Um, and it also, it frees people who are living in those perfectionist kind of places, those places where they don't feel good enough, those places where they're stuck in life. So I think there's just all those kind of people can fit into this book.
And what are you hoping that or what are you hearing even that people are taking away from the book? Like what are you hearing from people who have read it?
Well, I'm hearing some different things. It's interesting because I had some friends who read it. Um, there was one person particularly who let me know that she went into it not really expecting to get anything out of it, because we're already kind of living this and we're already there. And just as she read it, realizing that she had been stuck in some of those places. So I think that sometimes we're in these places, we don't even realize it. So I've been hearing some of that. Um, and I've had so many people come to me and talking to me about, this is my story. This is my story.
Hmm.
And we are able to have dialogue about those things. And we don't talk about this. I think that's my heart too, is we really don't talk about these things. So I'm excited to have the conversations with people and see that they're seeing things in themselves and God's using it to help them work through some of those things maybe they didn't know they needed to work through so that they can live more free.
Oh, I want to, I mean, like you said, it took you 10 years almost to write the book. Was there something like what prompted even the beginning of maybe I should write a book? Like, have you always wanted to write since you were a child, or how did this book actually like come to life?
Well, it's interesting because my older son was starting to turn 18 and I was realizing that kids grow up and I was a stay-at-mom mostly. I had some part-time jobs and stuff, but never had a career. So I'm like, okay, what's next? Just praying and asking what's
Mm.
next. And I had when I was a kid, I loved to journal, loved to write cards, all those kind of things. And writing has been a place for me where my hearing loss and my deafness, it doesn't affect anything. It's something that I always have there.
Mm.
And so it's like he brought that back to me. So I made a website, started blogging, and then I started dreaming and thinking maybe I could write a book, and just kind of looked over my life to see what would I write about. And this is what came up. It's one of the bigger parts of my life, and it's affected so many areas for me, including marriage, parenting, all those things. And so I just started writing and had one picture and it just took its own shape as it went along. And it was a healing process for me too, because there were things I needed to work through as I was writing it out. So it was almost therapy for me too. Um, but that's where it started, just really looking to see what's next.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to touch on like the therapeutic parts of writing, whether it's a in a journal that nobody reads, whether it's on a blog, whether it's in a book that's available in stores. What was it like to look back and kind of relive some of your life? Was that difficult? Was that, like you said, therapeutic? Like, did you end up like working through a lot of stuff just writing the book?
I did. There were some chapters where I just took a day to cry. Like there was a
Mm.
lot of pain there. Um, so I needed to heal from some of the pain and the hurt. But there was also some anger there and unforgiveness. My editor even asked me, "Was chapter 10 a hard chapter for you?" Because
Mm.
she could tell just by reading the chapter. And I can tell you the hotel I was in when I started that chapter.
Wow.
Um, and I dealt with a lot of anger in some of it. And that's another reason why I wrote the book is because I want people to know these things now. I wish I had known them back then too, because I would have done things a lot different. Um, my relationships would have been a lot different. My parenting would have been a lot different. And I've had to forgive myself in some of that too. And that was part of the process too, is in giving myself some grace and forgiving myself and being able to move forward and do things differently now and having that be okay. So
It's such a relatable book, right? Like you can, no matter who you are, you can relate to pieces of your story as well. Did it feel like did you know going in that people were going to relate, or did you feel oftentimes that like you were the only one going through some of this?
I think it depended on the moment. Like
Yeah.
there were some moments where I just felt like very alone in it. And I have felt alone in some of the process of it. But then on the flip side, I'm like, I know there's other people out here that are hurting this way and who have dealt with these things and need this. And that really was what helped me finish the book, because there were so many times I wanted to quit. I didn't want to finish it. And I was like, I can't do this. And those are I thought of those people, and that's really what helped me finish.
Yeah, especially I always think that like I've started writing many books and then I'm like, I don't understand how you organize it enough to put it all so it makes sense. I get bored. I'm like, whatever, I quit. And so to continue it for a decade, like that's a huge commitment. I want to talk about the title of the book. It's called Created to Relate, Living Beyond Religion. I'll put it up here. Again, I'm always curious, like why people title the titles that they give them, and if you were toying around with any other titles before you settled on this.
Actually, no, the title came pretty quick. My husband and I were talking, and I have to give him some credit on this because he helped me come to this conclusion with this title. Because I was sharing with him the heart of it, and he helped me put the words to it. So from the very beginning, this has been the title. And that was one of the reasons why I went with a hybrid type of publishing, was because I didn't want anyone touching it. So
Yeah, smart. Well, thank you, husband, for a great title. We appreciate it. You said that you were going to write. Have you started writing another book, or are we just still riding the wave of this one?
Well, it's kind of both. I have started the study guide for this one because I have had people asking me for a study guide, and I'm going to be using it for a small group at my church. So the study guide will be next and will go along with this. And then I have other books. I want to talk about our relationships with one another. I've got devotional ideas, all kinds of things. So I plan to make this a long-term thing.
Has this just sparked an entire, like, obviously an entire new kind of work for you, right? Like an entire mission, sort of.
Yeah, and it's been threefold for me, really, because on my website, I'm focusing on writing the books and that, but I'm also, because I am deaf and disabled that way, or however you want to say it. I have a real heart for special needs, people with special needs, and I've been doing some advocating for that. And the podcast, through the book and being able to do the podcast, it helps me talk about my disability as well, so I can help other people with who live with disabilities too, and hopefully give them some courage to do things that maybe they wouldn't think to do. And then the other heart for me is I because of my struggle in this, and I had my biggest struggle in my 20s. And so I'm very involved with young adults at church, and yes, young adults, I just love them, the 20s, because I wanted someone there walking with me. So mentoring and discipling that age group is really important. So I feel like it's helping me be able to do more with those other places that I really have a passion for. So that's so exciting for me.
Yeah. You mentioned your hearing loss. You weren't born deaf though, correct? Like you gradually lost your hearing. Can you talk about that?
Yes. I was probably 3 or 4 when they first spotted it. My mom had the same type of nerve deafness. I can never pronounce
Oh.
it well, so I won't try to say it, but, the nerve deafness and the progressive, loss. So she had that as well. They didn't think it was, um, she didn't think she could pass it on. So, when I had my first, boy, I wanted to find out what everything looked like, but it was genetic. So my youngest son has the same hearing loss. I got my first hearing aid probably at 9, and then it just progressed from there, and then I was about 30, 31 when I got my first cochlear implant.
Mm. Is that like, I hear that it is like going like the Wizard of Oz, like going from black and white to technicolored. Like, did that completely change your life?
Yeah, I mean, there was a process. Your brain has to learn what you're hearing and learn how to listen,
Mhm.
and it changes, too, over time, but the more that my brain learns how to hear and listen, the better I get at it. And I've worked really hard to I'm the type of person, if I have something, I want to make the most of it. So I've done all the work to try to do the best that I can. I mean, I still have my limitations. It's not a fix. I'm not a hearing person now, but I definitely have a different quality of life and I can hear things that I never could hear before. So,
What do you love most about your life right now?
hmm. Probably this. Like this has been just such a blessing to be able I love people. So I love getting to know new people. I'm loving talking about the book and seeing how God just hasn't wasted anything that I've gone through. And that's
Mm,
really bringing me a lot of joy.
I love that. As this is your first book, what
Mhm.
advice would you give to first-time authors, or maybe something you wish you knew before you started?
Well, you know what? I think the biggest thing is I spent the first few years trying to figure out what I should look like as an author. I
Mm,
think I would tell someone to not try to figure that out. To really focus on who they are and defining their own voice, because in the end, that's the voice that's gonna speak. That's who they need to be, not what everyone else looks like.
that's a great answer. Great answer. What's the best way that people can connect with you and follow you and see what you're up to?
The best way is my website, which is www.arenewedcreation.com. You can find everything on there. You can get to my socials from there, and you can personal message me whenever, however. So I'm happy to chat with people. I love the connections. So
I was gonna say, that has to be so amazing to hear from people that just want to reach out and say thank you or even just hello.
I love that, and I'm so relational. I make friends with anyone who reaches out usually.
Mhm. I
So,
love that.
that's really been a blessing. I love meeting new people and making new friends.
Good. Well, please come back. Well, no matter what's coming out, please come back and chat and keep us updated on everything that's going on in your life.
Oh, I would love that. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you so much for being here. The book is called Created to Relate: Living Beyond Religion. This is Desiree Taylor. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. All right, everyone, that's our show. Thanks for watching. Go make your day richer. Go make somebody else's day richer. You've made mine by watching this show, and I just love you for it. I really, really do. I appreciate everybody who tunes in to watch this show, who shares it. Now's a good time to just share the show. That'd be great. Just press that share button. Get us more views. On tomorrow's show, we've got Jessica Spear here, who has an entire series of books for kids and teens, all about phones, manners, uh, everything. She has an amazing line of books, so you'll want to listen to her. And the founder of the Help Hub, Lisa Sugarman, will also be here. It's going to be a good day. So we'll see you back here tomorrow. All right, bye bye.